So we did Inception, but it can also create some really unique images. I asked it to create me a cyborg podcaster, and that's what it did. And then I asked it to create me a scenario where a bunch of business owners from diverse backgrounds were sitting together and having a conversation of the future of the podcasting game. And it did that. So it'll say, make me a mid-journey prompt, and it'll create you 4 or 5 mid-journey prompts that you can use just based on that. And even if you spell it wrong, it'll be able to fix that. A friend of mine is developing an app for users to converse with them as Elon Musk. Type in artificial intelligence. Can you do me a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats on the business model? This is for the general public. And literally, it took my voice command and it gave me strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I said to him, hey, did you think about these threats? Did you think about the weaknesses of this business model that you're thinking of implementing? Super, super powerful. Now, there's no way that we could have thought of this when we first did it, right? We just kind of gave it business owner that embraces AI in their operations. And it's kind of broken that down and made a bunch of mid-journey prompts that you can now put into mid-journey and create some really unique images that you could not create before. All right, now I'm going to cover a few things here so that you can just get an idea of what can be done. Ideation, you can create SWOT analysis, you can create business model canvas, any framework that you can use and you can think about, you can use artificial intelligence to help you with, okay? So productivity is something that we all struggle with. Like, burnout is something that we think about all the time. And it kind of hits us that we got all these spinning plates as business owners. And we're like, oh, which plate do I spin next? So here is a hack for you. I learned this from an amazing lady called Amy Yamada. She's been using ChatGPT and her business to help us humanize AI. And I've learned this from her. So this is a really cool trick that you can open your phone and open dictation, like on your notes app. And you can just start talking to it and say, okay, I have all these things to do. And then when you're finished with that, you can put that into ChatGPT and say, organize this in a logical manner. And then it will organize that for you. It'll take your to-do list, all the stuff out of your brain, and make it useful for you. So productivity. Second is ideation. If you're launching a new product, a new service, a new brand, use AI to help you with the ideation. 3, if you have, so my team right now, every Zoom call, everything that we have conversations are taken, transcribed, summarized, and put into a database. So now we have access to everything that we've covered, and not only including summarizations, it'll summarize and create a to-do list from a conversation that you've had. You say, AI, can you take this transcript, summarize it, and create a to-do list from it? Then it will find the action items and put it into a to-do list. So 3 is summarization. You can do brand partner research, which is, hey, I am a business owner that does this. Who are the brands that I can partner with that have no competitive overlap and do other things the way I do it, but serve the same audience? Okay, so you can do brand partner research. You can kind of say, hey, this is my business. This is where I'm at. What have I not thought of? How do I grow my business? What are the things that I'm not looking at? Do me a SWOT analysis. These are things that you should be doing and you should be trying out. Copywriting. And so this is how you use the ChatGPT chat, okay? So you first say, how can I use the power of contrast in my copywriting to increase conversions? So I'm using the power of contrast to start off with, and I'm saying, hey, what is the power of contrast, but specifically to increase conversions, okay? Then I'm saying, can you provide me with an example of a successful copywriting campaign, okay? Now it's done that, and it showed us how Mac and Apple use the power of contrast. And now you can achieve flow by asking it to do strategy. You can ask it to do sales. You can get better at that. You can get it to do your emails. And your idea here is to achieve flow in your business. We get stuck as a business owner, kind of not knowing where to go next. And you can really use artificial intelligence to get you out of a sticky situation. Okay. And I kind of want you to remember that every time you're stuck somewhere, like what can it do? Socials, there should never be an issue right now for you to say, oh, I don't know what to post on my socials, because that can be achieved. Okay. SEO, you should be ranking. You should do all your research. You should have your keywords, and you could get them done very, very quickly. So get your SEO sorted. And for those of you that are podcasters, oh my God, I started doing podcasting 11 years ago. When I started to tell people that a podcast was a good idea for their business, the best thing they could potentially ever do for their business. And they didn't understand me, and they didn't understand what podcasting was. Then I wrote a book. I wrote a book that tried to explain how this podcasting would work in a business and how it would increase revenue, how it would increase credibility, how it would increase the audience. And they kind of then understood a little bit, this is where a podcast would fit. But then COVID happened and everyone became a podcaster, which was the best thing for the industry. And now it's amazing to watch how many podcasters are there and also how much information is there that a podcast can be used and is being used for the right ways, the right reasons. Because in general, our institutions have taught us not to raise our voice. And so we don't say anything at all. And learning how to podcast and learning how to use your voice is something that we've got to learn so that we can teach the next generation to actually use their voice. Because there's no more powerful thing than that. My ancestors were taken over by other races, I suppose. And the first thing that was taken away was information. And information and knowledge was kept from people because that is the power. And they were told not to raise their voice. They were told not to say anything. They were told not to do things. And that's not how we can treat artificial intelligence. And I really want us to remember that these machines are already smarter than us. It's time for us to collaborate. It's time for us to be better people. It's time for us to be better business owners, better entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the ones that solve meaningful problems on the planet. And I kind of want us all to be on this movement to be able to solve meaningful problems, using it ethically, using it with the right intent. Okay.
Thank you so much. First of all, big round of applause to Ronsley for that presentation. All right, so Write Flow, does that exist as a extension to Google Docs? And its whole purpose is to help people to be able to write better prompts. Is that correct, for different types of solutions?
No, not only better prompts. Prompts is just the inception menu. It'll create sales flow, so it'll help you write a storytelling pitch. It'll help you write a sales page. If you're a podcaster, you can put guest bio in there and it'll give you questions to ask the guest that I promise you've never thought of these before. It'll do strategy. It'll give you brand partners. It'll do a business model canvas. It'll do a business analysis. It'll give you trends. It'll do social. It'll create you your Instagram carousels, emails. It'll give you SEO, and it'll give you a whole bunch of ideation. So to answer your question, Dale, it has been created primarily in Google Docs because I didn't want to create another platform for people to get and learn. We already use word processors. So all it does is it creates this extra menu and it'll just do all your work.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. I had a member contact me just last week, and they have a men's skincare company, and they're expanding with a new distributor in the Middle East. And they needed to get photos of a Middle Eastern looking man. And they thought to themselves, if they were to jump on a plane, fly there, hire a model, hire a photographer, all that stuff, they're probably looking at $25,000 for a photo shoot. Is there a way that you can use AI now to do these type of photo shoots for you at obviously a fraction of the cost? Is that possible, or is it more just kind of like images for storybooks and things like that? How realistic are we getting with these type of images?
Very, very realistic. What I was trying to do is explain level 1, 2, and 3 using coffee as an example. So when level 1, you kind of get the green coffee beans, and then level 2, you got to roast them really well, and then finally level 3, you create this really good cup of coffee. And it just made me all those images. I asked it to do a whole bunch of things. I asked it to create me a marketplace, and it did that. And I asked it very specifically to create me a marketplace with brushstrokes. So it did that. And then I asked it like, can you create a more realistic one? And it did that. So yes, you can create really, really good images. Yes, it can do some really, really cool things. And yes, Midjourney is easily way better than any other image creation platform that exists right now. It just does some phenomenal work. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Fantastic, thank you. So the tool's called Midjourney. There are tons of videos on YouTube about how to use Midjourney, and it just keeps getting, better and better. So do not write any of these off, because look at how far we've come in the last 6 months. Things are basically going 10x each year. Imagine where we're going to be in 6 to 12 months time from now. Okay, very quick one. We haven't spoken too much about that today, but podcasting versus YouTube. What do you recommend and why?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. So podcasting has evolved to a point right now where it is a synonym for video podcasting. Please record all your podcasts in video. Even if you do not publish the full video on YouTube, you can use the video to make reels, which is really useful and really creates a lot of attention on social media. So definitely right now, when I say podcasting, I'm talking about a video podcast, end of story. There is no more the time to think about just doing audio. We can create audio and video at the same time. So yes, absolutely. Like, get better at talking to the camera, get better at having a really good background and all these kind of things, because that really helps with your final output.
Awesome. Can you now use tools that can even help with creating backlinks for you as well? Is there another way to redirect those funds into something that's going to be, better for them?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the things that can be done is definitely get like an assistant, VA, and they'll be able to help you on how to get a really good one and help and get them working full time. So all my assistants now, every week, they get an AI training. They're learning to use AI. As soon as they can implement AI, they get a pay rise. There is so much more benefit to use that $1,000 in different ways, but you have to understand how to use SEO. So for example, in RightFlow, and also, by the way, you can do this yourself as well. There are ways to take someone's article, put that link and say, now use this link and write me an article to outrank this link. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can already do. You can ask it to do keyword research. This is my program, but you can do this already, right? It doesn't have to be done through RightFlow. You can do it through other ways, but yes, you can do your own keyword research. You can take another article that you really like. You can analyze that article for voice tone, for keywords, for links, and you can apply it to yourself. So it could be in any other field and then apply that back to yourself.
Thank you. My next question, and it's around, how do you see the use of, we're talking a lot about AI, but what about VAs? And because there is talk around, well, this create less demand for VAs. While you've been using all these AI tools, you're actually hiring more staff. So tell us a little bit about how you're seeing the value of staff locally, staff in places like the Philippines now as well. And you said you're training them on how they could use AI. Tell us a bit more about what we should be doing as business owners in order to grow our teams and train them on these skills.
Great question. So I was talking at conferences, and it was really interesting because there was these people that were just starting to use AI and were a couple of steps ahead, which good on them. And they were speakers. But then I would turn up and kind of go, there are a couple of things that were just said that were not true. And then there were people asking me to do trainings to their organization, and I went, wait a minute. Before I start saying yes to that, I should be training my people. And then every Tuesday morning now we have an hour training that the whole team attends. They get homework that they're meant to submit by the end of the week so that I can look at that before the next training, and they are upskilled. They are upskilled, Dale, to a point right now where they are training each other on the prompts that they are learning and techniques that they are learning, and the Slack channel just goes crazy. And it's absolutely beautiful to watch that they have now upskilled themselves. And my directive was, when I started doing this, is like, all right, team, we're going to learn how to use AI. As soon as you can implement and use artificial intelligence in your workflow, I will give you a pay rise. I'll give you a 30% pay rise. And everyone was on it. They were on it so quickly, and they are way more useful right now because they can think for themselves. Before that, it was like, okay, do this, do that. I have to do the thinking. Now they are thinking for themselves and they're delegating their work to AI, and they're way more productive, they're way more accurate, and they create some really, really good work. So I definitely agree and definitely get help, but also train them. Training is like the key component to having good team. And one of the things that I realized is that I was not the best. I didn't give best instructions. And now I'm getting better at giving instructions, and so is the team.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a few quick questions from the audience right now, and I'll grab a couple of people, and you can then talk directly to Ronsley and ask him your question. Okay, so first of all, we have John. If you could please unmute John, and you're speaking with Ronsley. Go for it.
Yes, thanks very much, Dale and Ronsley. Very good. Very good question, generic question. How much can you put in a prompt? Is there a limit to what you would put in terms of words or questions?
Yeah, I mean, with 3.5, I think it's about 8,000 tokens. So tokens, you'd consider 4 characters roughly per token. But then with GPT-4, that's gone even more up. So I'd say don't really worry about that yet. I think if it gets to a point where it says enough is enough, so a 1 hour transcript is not going to work. I think if you're using GPT-4, I'd say between 15 and 16 minutes is what you can, the transcript which you can put in, and it won't kind of go too much. But a prompt can be quite a lot. So 15 or 16 minutes of transcription is a lot of text that it can take in.
Yeah, so John, you're looking at maybe 5,000 words, which is like, like probably a whole chapter of a book. And that is increasing, all the time. So yeah, but right now, don't even worry about it. Thank you for that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Troy, you're speaking with Ronsley. Go for it.
G'day, Ronsley. I haven't used Midjourney before. I asked this question of someone yesterday. Can any of these tools, Midjourney or others, take an image that you have possession of and incorporate that into the generated image? So your face or your logo, and then develop that into the result.
Yes, it can. Yeah. And you have to give it a URL. So your image has to be hosted somewhere on the internet. And that URL, you can give Midjourney in the Imagine prompt, and you can say, use this URL, and then give it further instructions from there.
Okay. Could I ask another unrelated, very quick one? You mentioned about having AI record your team meetings. If we're using Microsoft Teams, do you have any ideas and suggestions there?
So we use Otter.ai. Actually, we've been using Otter.ai for a long time, and I highly recommend it because it's really accurate. But Otter.ai is really useful.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, we have Esther next. That would be great.
Good morning. Thank you, Ron, for your presentation. It was really insightful. I just want to ask, as an artist myself, where do we draw the line in using AI in image generation in an ethical way? Because I have colleague artists who are trying to press charges for copyright issues because their art style or their own art is being used to train AI in generating images on Midjourney. So how can we prevent that type of conflict in the business for my client and for our other businesses? So I just want to know your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that. So my responsibility, and I feel this very strongly, is to educate everyone on the values of using artificial intelligence. And that's why when you see my presentation, you see my sources. When I give you an idea or a tactic, I will always give credit for where I got it from. And right now, that's the only thing that we can do, is be the good example. There is no way to control or patrol these things. And I don't know whether it's going to happen because it's already out and loose. It's already out into the world. Artificial intelligence is already there. Like, if you were to put any constraints around things, it should have happened a long time ago. So what I would say is, for artists, and people have taken my stuff and sold it as theirs, and it happens a lot. And as an artist, it hurts a little bit, but I think the quicker we get to understand where the world is right now and how as artists we can use the world and the situation right now, the better it's going to be for us. That is just my view and my thoughts on it. The only thing that we can do is be the good example. There used to be a point where parents would be, I'm telling you what to do and you only do this. That's not the case anymore. Like if parents did that today, there'll be more rebellious kids everywhere. Now, the best way to be a parent is don't do what I'm saying, but do what I do and be the good example. And that's the only thing that we can do.
Thank you. All right, and go for it, Rosemary. Thank you. Last one.
Yeah, hi. That's awesome information. Thank you so much. The question I have is around the SEO and with AI written content. Of course, you have to tweak it up and, humanize it and whatever else, but bots can detect AI content. And how will that affect like your rankings and stuff down the track? Obviously we can't tell now because it's not far enough down the track, but like when they were using like that black hat keyword stuffing and things like that, it worked well for a while and then the sites just got smashed. So, how do you weigh that up?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I don't have obviously control over a lot of things that legislation might take over. So if you were going to a friend's house and you didn't walk there, but you took a car there, is it less of you being there? So the ultimate goal is you being there, right? So the same thing goes with SEO content. Is the content you're creating actually useful? Is it something that people are going to read and go, I needed this, I'm going to reference it, I'm going to talk about it? There is a change happening right now, and I don't know what's going to come in terms of legislation, but it becomes even more important for us to create our own content right now, our own voice, have our own podcast, create our own platform, create our own thought leadership. And from that, if we use AI to supplement that becomes the basis for truth. That becomes our voice being used. That becomes our voice being used by AI to be repurposed. I hope that made sense.
Beautiful. All right, thank you very much. We're going to have to wrap things up there. Let's give Ronsley a big round of applause. Thank you so much. All right.